Hey, it's Mike from Seeker. So I've got three Mark 1s here I wanted to do kind of a comparison on for you today. The one on the right here is Mark 1 in the Lineage series that is Sola tuned. The one in the middle is the same but system tuned. And then you've got Descry. All three Mark 1 based, just kind of different takes on it. But I thought I'd talk about the circuits a little bit. We can go through a couple schematics and show you how they are different, and then we'll go ahead and play each pedal, and we'll kind of have them set up to where they can kind of sound the same, and a little bit in how they sound different, etc. First, let me show you a schematic. So this is a Mark 1 schematic, just the standard Sola version. The system version is only slightly different, and I can tell you what the differences are there as well. Just in case you don't know everything that's going on here, I'll run through that really quick first. So you've got negative 9 volts, that's where your power is coming in, and it goes down into the circuit. These little squiggly lines, those are resistors. The two lines together, where they are separated, are capacitors. And then you've got one capacitor here that's polarized, so it's got this curved line and then the plus sign there. And then you've got the transistors, and each transistor has 3 legs. You've got the collector here, this is the base, and then down here is the emitter. And then those little triangles are ground. And then these are technically resistors. These are the pots. So you've got the attack pot and the volume pot. But as far as the circuit goes on the Lineage series Mark 1s, these are all pretty much just like this. So using the same layout as the originals, same circuit, everything like that. Just a few small changes. I will usually add a resistor here from negative 9 volts to the base of Q1 to give this more leakage. I've talked about that before, but that's one small change. All of the values of pretty much all the resistors apart from this one. This is a 470K that's biasing Q2, and then I changed this to M2. It's a 2.2 meg ohm. This is straight through the output of your signal, and your whole signal is going through this large resistor to reduce the volume. I reduced the value of that so that more volume is let through into the volume pot, and then you can adjust the volume with your volume pot where you want it to be, but that tends to make it louder and a little more present and a little more clarity. That I think this is kind of a little bit dark sounding sometimes with that in place, and also it kind of limits the potential volume if you wanted to boost the output in a setting that's where everything's really loud. It helps in that situation a lot. The 470K I change just based on the transistors that I'm using. Usually I'll change it to something between 330K and let's say 220K. Just depends on how I can get about 3.5 volts on Q2's collector. So I'll change this to do that. And this is the attack pot. As you turn that up, it reduces the voltage to the collector and it clips this stage of the circuit. It's pretty much clipping at all times. Even when the attack pot is all the way down, it'll still be clipping. It's a really high gain circuit. So this is just the buffer stage, clipping stage, output stage. Pretty straightforward, but these are all of the Lineage series Mark 1s are just using that stock schematic. Nothing really crazy as far as mods go. The Descry, it's very close to that. It does have some mods. I'll show you just really quick some of the differences. So let's see. So this automatically will have that 2.2 meg, this resistor, going to the base. The rest of this input area is the same on the buffer stage. Same cap going into the clipping stage. You've got a 330K. I pretty much use 330K on all of them. And instead of an attack pot coming off of the base like there is here, this is just a resistor that's fixed. So it's like the attack pot is all the way up all the time. Pretty close to. So what's happening is this 1.8K resistor goes down in series with this 50K pot, and that will take the voltage to ground, and the higher that goes, the lower this, the lower this collector voltage is. So 47K is pretty close to this 50K pot value-ish. It's pretty close to having it basically all the way up all the time. But what I do have instead is there's a pot here where this is a 2.2K resistor. This is now a 5K pot in series with a 100 ohm resistor to the collector. So you can change the collector's voltage basically. Similar, this the attack pot does a similar thing, but this has a much wider sweep and just kind of has maybe a little more interesting usefulness. After the last stage of after Q3, normally you would just have a cap, resistor, and go into the output basically. On Descry, you've got two caps. They're coming off of, this one comes off of a voltage divider. This one comes straight off the collector. This is much smaller value, and this is the stock value for a Mark 1. And they both go into one side of a potentiometer, and then they go out of the pot into the volume pot. And there's a couple of resistors here that kind of help set the tone basically, and kind of how far the tone control can go on either direction. But that's straight off of a Mark 3 or Mark 4 tone bender, and it just gives it a really nice range to sweep between kind of stock to really thin, and it does interesting things with mid-range. Probably the most fun thing about a Mark 3 tone bender is that tone control, but works equally well on the Mark 1. I think for making it really interesting and fun for carving out some new sounds. But normally this would take a lot of volume out of the circuit, but because this 2 meg resistor is on the output on the stock one, I basically just take it off. It's not in the circuit at all anymore. So this does reduce the volume, but we don't have to run the signal through any resistor at that point, and it just goes straight out to the volume pot. And that kind of helps make the volume more consistent as well on Descry versus the Mark 1s in the Lineage series. It's sort of more the same sound, just quieter, or the same sound but louder, because it doesn't have that resistor on the output messing with the output impedance. This is lower, so it helps, but it's still there, and it still kind of does a little bit of something. But it's part of what makes the Mark 1 do its thing. So you can take it out completely, and it does get very loud, which is kind of nice, but it changes some of the sound. It becomes a little bit too intense, I think, with nothing on the output there. It's just a really loud circuit. So I'll talk to you real quick about the system version. The differences on the system version are this capacitor coming off of Q3, which is on your output. It is half this value, so it's 0.047. This resistor to ground, which kind of just helps stabilize the circuit a little bit. It also affects the volume a little bit. Is a 56K instead of a 47K. Minimal difference, but historically speaking, that's what that is. And then you've got this 470K resistor that I change on the Sola ones. It's just much smaller value. It's closer to 180K with a little higher gain Q2, and that creates the gating when you turn the attack pot up on the system versions. Everything else is pretty much the same. There's another version that I will be doing a few of in a limited run soon, but I think that might have already come out by the time this video comes out. But several versions of these, historically speaking, just because they tended to be a little bit different every time. But these are just some of the kind of different ways to do kind of the same thing in a fun way. So the Sola version is kind of the fattest, maybe the most low-end sound out of any of the Mark 1s. The output cap is the biggest on this one, and it's always that size, so it's kind of, it just has a bigger sound, I think, overall. It's still pretty firmly sits in kind of a mid-range sound. It's not really like a huge low end or anything, but out of the three, it's sort of the fattest sounding. The system one is probably, it's just a little less low end, so it kind of cuts a little bit more, which is nice. And then you've got the ability to gate the attack a little bit more, but basically anything below kind of 11 o'clock is pretty close to the entire range of the regular Sola version. On the Descry, you've kind of got the ability to change the output cap value with this with the tone pot. So all the way up you can get kind of the fattest sound, and then as you turn that down it gets thinner. So kind of it can do kind of both of these sounds, and then more as you turn it down, it'll get really thin. And then the adjustment on the bias control, you can kind of get in the range of system or in the range of Sola, depending on where you have this set. Kind of, I'd say between 10 o'clock and noon, it's kind of your Sola sounds, and then between maybe 11 and let's say 3 o'clock is kind of your system sounds, but it'll go a little farther into gating, and as you turn it down, it's kind of still really usable. It just kind of lowers the gain a little bit. And then you've still got adjustment here on the tone control. But I'll set them kind of similar to each other when we first play it. So kind of based on the Sola, I'll set them to all kind of sound a little bit like this. Should be about there. Yeah, so hopefully that's informative as to what's going on in each pedal. Other than that, the pedals are different internally, so like these are made with point-to-point wiring on kind of an eyelet PCB hybrid board. A little bit smaller pedal, obviously, but these are all done just straight on a PCB and with regular circuit traces. A little bit more streamlined and modern, but I think the sound is also kind of a little more modern as well. A little less of the kind of mid-range only emphasis like these have, and Descry is a little flatter EQ wise. Works really well, I think, into almost any amp or kind of any setup, where these are more particular, but you know, everybody just has a different thing they're going for, so it's best to experiment on your own. This is just my own experience. So we can go ahead and play the pedals now. I have the same setup, high watt DR20, and I've got my Telecaster that I'll plug in. A couple people have asked kind of for some specific scenarios here. So first thing, I'll just plug everything in. We'll turn them on one by one, and we'll just listen to the noise floor. Somebody had asked for that. And then I will play with the Telecaster on the bridge pickup. We'll play into the high watt pretty clean, and then I'll go through at the very end, and I'll turn the amp up. So I'll turn the input volumes up, and then we'll play each pedal and see what it sounds like into a dirtier amp. So really cool, kind of no matter what, but just a different application and a little different sound. Yeah, so hopefully this was fun. to watch, and you got a little knowledge on the circuit and the differences between each one of these. And then if you're wanting to pick one up, these will be available soon at dealers, probably within the next couple weeks. These will be shipping. And then I still have some of these available on my website too if you wanted a specific version, like the British upgrade transistor version or anything like that. And then Descry I have available now at dealers as well. I don't have any here out of enclosures, but I believe there are still several dealers that have them. And all of that you can find on my website. So I'll post a link to my website. You can go through the dealer page and it'll take you right to their website if you wanted to find Descry or a lot of the Signature Series pedals available through some dealers. So yeah, thanks for watching. Any questions I didn't cover, let me know, and I could do it. I could either just answer your question or I could do another video on that. So I'll go ahead and plug the recording interface in, and then we'll just we'll listen to all the pedals. I'll catch you next time. Thanks.